Hi everyone. So my name is Brandon Miracle. I've been in part of this group for the last about 2 or 3 weeks now. I've been kind of going through, seeing where everyone's at in their journey. First off, just want to say, if you're part of this group and you are going through your journey, first off, good job. Okay. The reason why I'm hopping on here today, I wanted to kind of share this is because, especially the last week and a half, I've been seeing a lot more of kind of the consistent posts coming through of, I've been doing X, I've been exercising for Y, and no matter what I do, I've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I constantly hop on the scale, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm not succeeding because I've gone up or down, or I've gained, 2 pounds, or I've only lost a pound, or whatever it may be. And so, I felt kind of called to post this and kind of get out there, you guys, is, one thing I've seen of working with athletes and clients for almost 20 years is, first off, allow yourself to give yourself some grace. Okay, I think that's the first number one thing, is coming from a place of grace and a place of gratitude for yourself. And I know this probably won't make sense to a lot of people initially, but first off, allow yourself to come from grace on the side of like, what, if you've been doing something, whether it be a couple days, a couple weeks, or even a couple months, or this may be a couple years into your journey on there, is first allow yourself to come from grace. And you know what? Are you better than what you were yesterday? Are you moving the needle closer to the thing that you want to achieve? Not necessarily based off of, what the external number's saying, based off of a scale, right? And, my thing that I always ask is, first off, is that serving you, right? Like, is that device that you're constantly stepping on causing more turmoil in your life of you not feeling worthy or valid or whatever else that we're trying to search for on there? But that's topic for another time. But more importantly, like, first off, give yourself some credit for even just partaking in this, because where you're at right now in this journey is you probably already have achieved and already have done more action than you already had previously to this point, right? And if there's one thing I think it's important for all us to understand, is it's that compounding effect that we do in anything, right? Like, whether it's the relationships we have in our life, whether it's with our job, whether it's with, life and fitness, right? Like, everything is a compounding effect for what we do. And if you're taking constant action into those things, you guys, change will come. So, like, change is inevitable. Like, that's one thing that we can't, that will have no matter what we do. Like, your body will change as time goes on. Your life will change. Your relationships will change. Everything changes in our life. So change is inevitable. But as you're going through these things, first off, come from a place of grace and come from a place of love. All right. Now, yet again, I know for a lot of you guys that may not make sense. It didn't make sense for me for a lot of years of, I'm not where I essentially want to be. I'm not as accomplished as I want to be. I haven't checked off my list of goals. So that means I can't tell myself I'm proud of myself. And so, my statement on there is, if you can't be proud of yourself today, what are you doing all this for? Because if you're constantly feeling like you're spinning your wheels and you're not allowing yourself to see any sense of gratitude for yourself, that's a lot of time where you're just beating the crap out of yourself for nothing, okay? So let it start there, all right? But the next part I want to get out to you guys, which is really important, I think, is understanding that, a lot of the posts that I'm seeing are regarding of, I've been doing this, it should elicit this because my expectation is this, okay? And first off, I think it kind of goes back into, if we can I understand if we can shift our focus, not maybe basically based around the aspect of weight or the number you're trying to see, but when we start to expect certain things, all of a sudden that could lead to a snowball of all of a sudden this journey becomes really, really hard, okay? So kind of analyze your expectations, kind of see from there. Yet again, that's a topic for another time, but kind of just getting the wheels turning, right? Because my stance on there is, if we can come from a place of understanding and awareness, first off, you'll have a much more broader understanding of kind of what's going on, but at the same standpoint, it might set you free of feeling like you're not accomplishing everything that you want to accomplish, all right? But I want to kind of get into the aspect of just general nourishment and kind of getting you guys thinking a little bit more of a lot of things that you may not be aware of that are actually happening physiologically in your body, and maybe why you're not experiencing the results that you are expecting or wanting to experience in the time frame that you want to, all right? So first off, you guys, what I'm seeing a lot of is, you know what, I'm eating X amount of calories, I'm exercising this amount throughout the day, I'm expending this amount, I should be losing this much by we go through that, right? And for the most part, what the normal kind of understanding, you know, the basis of what we've been taught, on a nutritional component, is that should be right. Like according to thermodynamics, that should be what it is, right? Like I burn this, I eat this, I should be losing this, right? You burn 3,500 calories, that should be eliciting 1 pound. I do that every single week, I should be losing a pound a week. Now, from my experience, I've been doing this a long time. I've worked with thousands of people on there. Now, what I've seen is that doesn't necessarily, it works for a short duration, right? Like for what I'm gathering from a lot of your guys' posts is it was working and now it's no longer working. No matter what I do, it's not working. The scale continues to go up or I'm just stuck right where I'm at and I can't get over this plateau. And it works for a short duration, but I think it's important to understand, you guys, is first and foremost, your body's job is to survive. Okay, your body's job is to survive. And literally probably in the last like 50 years up until this part, like we essentially lived our evolution to this point with our grandparents and everything else before this. We didn't have an overabundance of food. Up until about the last 60 years or so with agriculture and everything else, we hadn't have an overabundance of food. So our body and our brains and everything else, the way metabolism is, we're set on feast and famine. And so when we're going through restriction, right, when we start on a calorie restriction portion of that, your body adjusts via losing weight, which for most of you guys, you're probably not losing necessarily, you may be losing body fat, but for a lot of you guys, you start to see a quick response, right? Like, sweet, I lost 10 pounds in the first week, right? But then all of a sudden that sets that expectation of like, this should be the way it goes through there. Well, you could be losing a lot of water weight. There's a lot of other components that could be going through there. You have, fluid displacement, other things that could potentially happening on there. But because our physiology based off of evolution, where we've been at, is our job of our body is first and foremost to survive. And so when we cut down those calories, our signal to that is, oh no, we're in famine, and so I'll lose this, but because yet again my job is to survive, what the response internally is, I'm going to start storing. Okay, I'm going to start holding on to this, and that's essentially when you reach your plateau. Now, what I've seen also is like the common response to that is, oh, you've been doing that, you probably need to restrict even further, right? Like I saw several posts of I've been eating 1,200 calories a day. Well, you need to probably restrict more because more is essentially better, which is kind of the way our human brain kind of works. If a little bit is good, more has to be better. So if I've been restricting this much, I should restrict this much to see that much gain. And then yet again, if my body's job is to survive, right? Like food, I know it's kind of a different topic, but food is meant for fuel to get to allow our brains and our bodies to have the physiological functions in order for us to breathe, move, think, and survive in those times of famine, right? And so what happens on there is because when we go into that restriction standpoint, our body all of a sudden holds on to everything and it's like, nope, I don't care if you want to lose weight. I don't care if you want to run a marathon. I don't care if you want to pick a car up off your 2-year-old. We're going to hold on and we're going to restrict these things. And so under that circumstance, you guys, is yet again, if we're restricting and then essentially you fall off, because under I don't care what diet you follow, if you restrict long enough, we always end up going back to our norm of having to overconsume because we're in such a depleted state. All right. So it's just, you can see that. I would imagine for a lot of you guys, you've done this over and over. You've gone through a regimented plan for a month or so, maybe a little bit longer, and then all of a sudden you have, a little bit of a slip up, and then all of a sudden you go back and you're just demolishing all kinds of food and you're overeating. What that is, it's your body's instinctual survival mechanism of, I've been undernourished, I've been underfed, so I'm going to overeat to try to compensate for that. And so that turns into a lot of the psychological, why do I always cheat on it, or why do I always cheat? I'm not dedicated, I don't have no willpower, yada, 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 that goes on through that. But on that same notion is every time that you hit the reset button, so every time that you yo-yo diet, right? So every time that you restrict, so if your normal baseline, your baseline number for you to basically get your calorie consumption, say, is 1,800 calories, right? But at the same time, in order for you to meet your weight loss goal, you're restricting, say, down to 1,600 calories, okay? You're eating 1,600 calories, your body adjusts to that, okay? Your body adjusts to that set point, and then all of a sudden you hit that plateau. Well, I'm gonna adjust even further, I'm gonna bring it down to 1,400. You get into a little bit more restriction, and all of a sudden you fall off the wagon, and then all of a sudden you reset. Now what happens under that, because yet again, your body's job is to survive, is it senses that of, okay, we did that. I was surviving at 1,400 calories, but in order for me to possibly prepare myself for that famine state of 1,400 calories again, my preset was 1,800. I'm going to now reset my body set point to 1,900 calories, just in case that comes back up. And so what happens on there is it slows down our metabolism. It slows down your metabolic rate to make sure that you can survive at a higher rate on there. So just in case those time of famine come around there. So your body set point, we all have a body set point that kind of, it's like our thermostat for ourselves, right? Like we have homeostatic things functions that happen in our body to keep our bodies are set to be at 98.6 degrees on a healthy body, right? There are certain things that happen physiologically within ourselves to do that. Your body has this body weight set point, same thing internally for your weight, okay? Now, if I'm in constant reflux on there, every time that I essentially hit the reset button when I'm yo-yo dieting and restricting, that reset weight, my body weight reset, gets set at a higher weight. And so that's why probably for a lot of you guys that have gone through this journey over and over and over again, is you find it harder and harder, right? Like if you don't believe me, research any of the Biggest Loser contestants. Absolutely astounding what those people can accomplish in a short amount of time. But I think every single one of, I think it was the 2015 contestants, gained the weight back, if not gained more weight than what they did initially when they were going through their journey. The reason because of that is what I just explained, is they exercise themselves in such in a high demand and restricted for so long that their body went back. The second that it had to go back into that set point is it went into the science shows that they burn significantly less calories when they're exercising, and their metabolic rate is significantly slower. I'm going to get into hormonal responses here in a second, but that's why that happens, is because your evolution is set to do that, to help us survive on this planet, all right?